Hello, and welcome to reading the Zoom privacy policy so that you don't have to. This segment is brought to you by Termageddon.com, which is an auto-updating privacy policy generator. We have generated tens of thousands of privacy policies and also have read quite a few of them as well. I did want to note that anything that we talk about today should not be considered legal advice. So why is it important to read the privacy policy of Zoom? So really you should be reading the privacy policy of any service that you sign up for, because that's what explains what data is being collected about you, what's being done with that data, who it's being shared with, whether or not it's being sold, and what kind of control you have over what's done with your data and what control you have over your privacy. Zoom was a service that was actually requested by one of our employees. I'm more of a Google Meets type of person, but we do have a lot of people in our company using Zoom as well, and I know a lot of companies use it too. And it can contain some pretty sensitive information, while you're doing calls or you're talking about things, or maybe you're putting something in a chat that you think is private from your boss in a meeting. It can contain a lot of sensitive things. So yeah, Zoom's privacy policy is definitely important to read. Now, the first item is, what personal information does Zoom collect? So first it will collect information about your account, so like your name, contact information, account ID, your billing and transaction information, as well as what kind of plan you have with Zoom. If you're a participant in a meeting, it will also collect information about your profile there, so like your actual name, your display name, your picture, email address, phone number, job information, location, and user ID. It will also collect your contact information too. It will also collect information about any of your settings, so like your audio and video settings, where you kept a recording file, whether or not you're sharing your screen, things like that. If you're just registering for a webinar or a Zoom meeting or a webinar that's being held on Zoom, it will collect any registration information like your name and contact information. Sometimes when you want to register for like a webinar or something like that, the host may ask you additional registration questions, so that those responses will be collected too. It will also collect information about your device, so like, what kind of speakers do you have? Are they turned on? Your microphone, camera, your OS version, IP address, Wi-Fi information, whether or not the audio is being connected through Bluetooth, things like that. It will also collect content and context from your meetings, webinars, messaging, and other features. So like your audio, so what you said, your video, what you look like, any messages that you send during the meeting. If there's a transcript being taken of the meeting as well, your responses to any questions or any Q&A, any invitation details for the meeting, things like that. And then also your usage information about meetings, messages, and other features. So like, when did you open the meeting? How long did you stay in the meeting? Who you sent a message to or who sent a message to you, how quickly you replied, all these types of things. It also collects information from and to Zoom email and calendar services. These items can be encrypted, but you do have to take some additional action in order to encrypt those. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can find directions on how to do that as well. Content from third-party integrations. So like if I created my Zoom account by logging in through Gmail or something like that. Any kind of communications with Zoom, so like support questions, virtual chats, account feedback, and other inquiries. So if I have an issue and I send an email to Zoom support, that information will be collected as well. Now, Zoom also collects information from other partners. So for example, market data enrichment services. Usually this means that companies who use market data enrichment services are actually buying this data. So if you have an account with Zoom, they may get additional data about you from their partners, like your company size or industry, contact information, or activity of certain domains. I'm not exactly sure as to why they need to obtain that from third parties. If they're curious about my company size, they could just ask the customer directly, and if they want to disclose that information, they would. But it seems like they obtain that from other sources. And then they also use third-party ad services to advertise their products. So if you click on an ad, let's say on Facebook for Zoom, they would get that information as well. Now, how does Zoom use your information? So the thing that they kind of harped on and highlighted in their privacy policy is that their employees do not access your content. So this means that any like recordings that you have, the actual meeting, any messages that were sent or email content, those are not accessed by Zoom employees unless they're authorized directly by the account owner, or it's required to access them for legal, safety, or security reasons. So the main reason why, how Zoom uses your information is to provide their products or services. So like send invites, recommendations, provide webinars, provide meetings, send emails, provide customer support, billing, payments, and all of this type of information. I know a lot of people use backgrounds or filters on Zoom. If you guys remember that attorney that appeared as a dog in a hearing, things like that. So if you do enable these features, they will collect information about your movements and the positioning of your face or hands to apply those features. They do say that this data is kept within your device and is not accessed by Zoom. One thing that I found interesting in this is that this was not listed previously in the privacy policy. So when I read about what information is being collected, it said nothing about your movements, positioning of your face or hands. To me, I really don't like this because I know that a lot of people don't have the time to read a full privacy policy, or they may skip around certain sections. So if what I'm curious about is what information is being collected, and I read that previous section that was titled What Information We Collect, I would not have known about this until I read How We Use Your Information. So personally, I don't like this. I think this should have been listed previously. Now, if you use enhanced audio features, so for example, like to suppress background noise, Zoom will also collect your voice and voice print to enhance the audio quality. They say that you can disable this and delete the data at any time, and this data is not collected unless you actually turn these features on. But again, not great that they didn't include this in the previous section. Now, they say they offer intelligent features. So through the intelligent features, your content, so like the content of your webinar or your meeting or your messages or anything like that can be used by AI, machine learning, or similar technology to provide you with smart features. Not a huge fan of this because this is kind of a black box, right? So they don't say exactly what content is used by AI. They don't say that, this is only when you turn on certain features that this is happening. They don't really explain how to shut off the smart features or how to delete the data used by the smart features. Later on in the privacy policy, they do explain that you can delete your data if you are in the EU, UK, or certain US states that have privacy laws. But if I'm in Illinois and I don't have privacy rights and I don't want my content to be used by AI, I may not necessarily have a choice about this, which is, again, something that I personally don't like. And then they say that they might use information for product research and development as well as marketing and promotion. So they'll send you ads, analyze your interactions with ads, things like that. They'll also use your information for authentication, integrity, security, and safety. So like preventing and investigating malicious conduct, fraudulent activity, or unsafe experiences. They'll also use your information to communicate with you through the virtual chat feature, communicate with you about Zoom products, provide support, things like that. And then lastly, for legal reasons. So they might use your information to comply with applicable laws, to participate in civil discovery, litigation, or other legal proceedings as well. Now, does Zoom share your personal information? So yes, they do. So first, they may share information with resellers. So if somebody is a Zoom reseller and you buy Zoom from them, your information may be shared with them. They also share it with different vendors like infrastructure providers, payment processors, advertising providers, and analytics providers. They may share it for legal reasons with law enforcement, fraud prevention, things like that. Marketing, advertising, and analytics partners, corporate affiliates. So basically, that's anyone that's within the Zoom corporate structure. If the company control changes, so let's say somebody buys Zoom, they may share your information with them. And then also third party developers as well. Now, who can see your data in Zoom? So one of the things that a lot of employees worry about is, let's say you're having a team meeting in Zoom and you private message another employee with like a snarky remark or something like that, or you complain to them about something, you're nervous about whether or not your boss may see that. So in this case, your boss would be the account owner. So the account owner can designate permissions to others and can determine what types of content can be created and sent, what types of meetings and webinars are hosted on their account, things like that. So account owners, so in this case, that would be your boss, they have access to a lot of data. So first, account usage, so like who sent a message, what email they used, IP address, what device they logged into, how long were they in the meeting, other usage metrics, as well as a participant list. They can also see registration information, so like who registered for an account. Zoom team chat, so who sent or received team chat messages, as well as the contents of those messages sent. So that means that it's not just that they see, Joe sent a message to Bob at 11:21 a.m. They can see what Joe actually sent to Bob, so what they said. Meeting and webinar messages, any recordings that are made on that account are accessible, any polling and Q&A messages, and then Zoom email and calendar content. So just so you know, like Zoom email and calendar content, those things can be encrypted, but the account owner can still access all of this even if the emails themselves are encrypted as well. Now, does Zoom sell your personal information? So this is very confusing thanks to a privacy law called the California Privacy Rights Act. So Zoom says that they don't sell data in the conventional sense. So basically what this means is Zoom does not take a list of their customer data and sell it to a data broker for X amount of money, which is how most people would define sale. But the CPRA defines sale as the exchange of data for anything of value. So Zoom does note that they do exchange data for advertising and analytics services. So technically they do sell data as defined by this privacy law. But really, when you look at it at the end of the day, kind of in the common sense sense here, they do not sell data in exchange for money. Now, what privacy rights does Zoom provide? So anybody can opt out of marketing communications by unsubscribing on an email or a text message or emailing privacy@zoom.us. Other privacy rights are provided only to people residing in the EU, UK, California, or any other state with a privacy law. So unfortunately, if you're not located in a state with a privacy law, this would not apply to you. So for example, I'm located in Illinois. We don't have a privacy law that protects, names, emails, phone numbers, that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be able to take advantage of this. But if you are in a state that does have those laws, then you can't take advantage of it. So you can obtain a list of what data Zoom has collected about you. You can amend or correct the data that they have on you. So if something's incorrect, you can ask them to correct it. You can ask them to delete personal data. You can access your data in a portable format, meaning that this is a format that's machine readable that you could use to send to another company potentially. Object to processing and restrict processing. So basically that would mean that they can stop you for using data in particular ways. So for example, like using data for marketing purposes, and then to opt out of the sale or sharing of data for targeted advertising purposes. They do provide a couple different ways to exercise privacy rights. So you can fill out a form, you can send them an email, or you can do it via physical mail as well. Now lastly, how long does Zoom retain your data? So this is actually a question that one of our employees asked, which is, if I record a meeting or something like that, how long does Zoom keep that? So it seems like this would be almost indefinitely. So first, they keep your data for as long as you have an account with Zoom, or for as long as you keep using their products. until you modify your data or delete it. So again, if you're not in one of those states that provide those rights or one of those countries, you can't ask them to delete your data until Zoom has a legal obligation to retain that data. And then whenever retention is advisable due to legal position. So for example, like resolving disputes or something like that. All right, so that is the Zoom privacy policy here. Hopefully you found this helpful. And yeah, hopefully this helps you use Zoom in a more responsible and privacy-friendly way.